Hello and welcome to the 42nd annual running of the New Bedford Half Marathon. I'm Pete Braley at the start-finish line with my friend Dr. Larry Finnerty once again, and much warmer than last year. That was the first thing you said to me.
What a relief. The wind is down and the temperature's up. It's beautiful.
There you go. It'll be about 39, 40 degrees at race time, which is a good temperature for runners, right?
It is. There'll be plenty of people without leggings on. They'll be bare-legged, and just as long as you keep your hat on and your gloves on, you'll warm up.
You hear many of the racers say one thing they remember about New Bedford is the wind, especially when they get out near the water on the peninsula. What do you think about today's situation?
Well, it should be a northwest wind, so it will be in their face as they start, but there's a lot of protection in the first mile and a half with the buildings. So when you get up to the top of Rockdale, that's when the northwest wind will push you right down to the beach. And you'll have it on the west side. When you turn onto the east side, you'll get some of that in your face. But again, it's not as bad as it being a northeast wind, which will come right up that harbor. So I think it'll be a fast day.
Good morning, everyone. Joe Cabral and Mike Gibberti here with the men's preview on the 42nd annual New Bedford Half Marathon. Mike, a race today looking to be wide open with a couple of previous winners, at least one, Louis Serafini, not here. Jim Spizak not anticipated to be here. So from the men's side, names like Dan Vasulo and Scott Mindell come to mind.
Yes, Dan Vassallo has just qualified for his second Olympic trials in the marathon last December out in California. He's also got a half marathon personal best of 66:20, somewhere in that range. So he runs over 100 miles a week. Guy's an absolute beast. So look for him to be up front along with his teammate Scott Mindell. These guys both run for the Central Mass Striders. Scott's also a very well-rounded runner. He just had his first child recently, and he's got a marathon PR of 2:22. So look for those two to be up front.
Well, a happy St. Patrick's Day to you and yours from all of us here, and we welcome you to the 42nd annual New Bedford Half Marathon. Alongside Tommy Mazza from the USATF, Ahmed Pereira. We're going to be following the woman all day long. Tommy, we talk about the women's race. First thing that comes to mind for me, a two-time champion back after a little bit of a hiatus, and that's young Miss Dion.
Yes, she is a very excellent runner. Has qualified, I believe, for her second Olympic trials recently, is now running with Kraft Concepts. Hillary used to run for the Boston Athletic Association until she moved up to New Hampshire. This is a very interesting race because I think you really can go any one of four ways.
Wow.
You have the Hackett sisters, both Allie as well as Michaela, who are both very excellent runners. And Allie has also recently qualified for the U.S. Olympic trials, so expect to see definitely that trio of runners up there. But I would not count out Sima Hartesafe of the Greater Boston Track Club, who is a 2:37 marathon runner and is also looking to add a third USATF crown this year, as she is our defending 10-mile and 5K champion.
We're here with Mayor John Mitchell, and look at you all dressed for a balmy day.
Yes, thank you for noticing. Maybe I'm optimistic, but I know that it's about 15 degrees warmer than it was at start time last year. I think everybody's having a little bit of spring fever right now. In fact, I just heard we just had a number of people sign up at the last minute. They checked the weather and said, hey, I'm good to go. So great, the more the better.
I think I've asked you this before, but what does this race mean to the city?
Well, it means a lot. You know, it obviously brings a lot of folks into the city and a lot of folks who patronize our shops and restaurants, and so it's a good little boost to the downtown economy at a time of the year when things are relatively slow. But more importantly, it's a great community event. It's really when you have events like this that bring people to the city and bring the city together, really strengthens the city's identity and sense of community, and you can't put a price tag on that.
Here's a busy guy, the Chief of Police in New Bedford. Chief Cordero, it's great to see you, and we've got a beautiful day.
We have a great day here in the city, and I'm just so happy about it for our runners, for our city, for our residents. Just a beautiful day.
How long have you been planning for this day? How much preparation goes into it?
So we start planning tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll start planning for next year, and we'll start reassessing what went well today and start tweaking the plan, and we do that throughout the year.
How many officers are involved?
So we have better than 120 police officers involved in today's security plan.
And what is their main, I'm sure there are behind-the-scenes things we're not going to discuss, but what is their main job besides the safety?
So first of all, we want to take care of traffic, right? We want to make sure our runners are safe from any motor vehicle traffic. So that's a primary concern for the majority of our officers. And then we have additional secondary concerns that would probably be obvious to all our viewers. And then we have a lot of officers outside the traffic role that are operating outside of that role as well.
For those that may not know, explain Team Owen.
So Team Owen was founded in 2009. Owen was the son of Andy Simmons. I'm a detective in New Bedford, and I'm good friends with Andy. And his son Owen was born with a disease called spinal muscular atrophy. It's basically Lou Gehrig's disease for infants, and it's the #1 genetic killer of infant children. So we've raised approximately $125,000 within the last 9 years, looking to find a cure for SMA. All the money and funds that we raise go to the Gwendolyn Strong Foundation, based out of California. I became friends with Bill and Victoria Strong from California, and their daughter also died of that disease in 2015. So it's just a great way to. This is the best day in New Bedford every year. It really is, the half marathon. But it shows like the running community and sharing awareness for finding a cure for SMA. It's just nothing but positive.
All right, so beside the blue T-shirts, we have the pink T-shirts. So do we have a competition going? Team Terry. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, I'm Laurie. I'm Auntie Laurie, Terry's auntie, and this is Terry's daughter, Marissa. Terry passed 4 years ago from breast cancer, so we run every year for her, Miles for Marissa, for her college fund, and for her memory. And we just published her mom's book.
Super. What's the name of the book?
Her book is Graceful Woman Warrior.
How many years have you been running the half marathon?
So Marissa and I started walking the half marathon 2 years ago, but Maureen started the team 4 years ago, and they've been running it. This is our 4th year running.
Welcome your race director, Dan McCarthy. Thank you all for running with us today. The city looks beautiful. It's got a beautiful sunshiny day. The city has worked their tail off to get this course clean, and you're going to be impressed with the quality of our volunteers. We have 1,000 volunteers out on the course to make sure that you have a wonderful time. Thank you for spending your St. Patrick's Day with us. Stay after the race. Visit our downtown restaurants. Stay at the hotel if you have to. But just thank you for being here with us. It means the world to us that you're here today. And yes. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Honor, the Mayor of New Bedford, Jonathan F. Mitchell.
Good morning, runners. Oh, come on. Let's hear it. Aren't you ready? Good morning, runners. There we go. Happy St. Patty's Day. And welcome to New Bedford. We're really pleased to have you today. Lots of folks from Greater New Bedford, lots of folks from farther beyond. All of you are in a prime position to have a fabulous day in our city. I want to thank all the city employees for putting on a route that will be par none. This is a great closed race that is, and many of you know this, having run it before, offers a terrific athletic experience. I want to thank the Friendly Sons and Dan McCarthy for all their hard work and all the volunteers that put on this race year in and year out. It is a huge success for our city and a great way to show us off. But we do want you to stick around. After you're done running, whatever your time, spend more time in our city. Enjoy our restaurants, enjoy our shops. It is St. Patty's Day, so we offer St. Patty's Day fare as well. You'll find that readily available. Have a great time today, everybody. We thank you, and we look forward to seeing you out on the race course.
Thank you, Mayor Mitchell. Well, we would love to honor all of you today. We have 3 runners we would like to recognize. Running today, our course record holder, Jeff Smith, former Boston Marathon winner, and 2 runners who have competed in all 42 New Bedford Half Marathons, Dave LaPlante and Charlie Marshall. And now, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask you all to remain silent and remove your hats as we honor America with the singing of both God Bless America and the national anthem. But before we do that, we want to recognize the memory of 2 very special individuals who we lost this past year. For over 40 years, Bob Hanna was a legendary Standard Time sports writer who built a devoted readership with his thoughtful coverage of running and this race. Joe Fernandez was a member of the Greater New Bedford Track Club, inducted into the National Masters Track Hall of Fame, and able to run until he was 86 years old. At this time, we ask for a moment of silence for the memories of Bob Hanna and Joe Fernandez. Thank you. And now please welcome to sing God Bless America, Miss New Bedford Outstanding Team, Team Juliet Simmons.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, from the oceans white with foam, God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, to honor America with the singing of our national anthem, Miss New Bedford, Mary Dandino.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And now, ladies and gentlemen, once again, Dan McCarthy, who will introduce a very special young lady who will fire the horn today. We're about to have our countdown done by our mayor, John Mitchell, but I want to introduce everybody. This is Raylene Donnelly, our official starter here today, joining us on St. Patrick's Day. And at this time, it's my honor to hand the microphone over for the countdown. Mayor.
All right, get ready, runners. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we're underway. It is the 42nd running of the New Bedford Half Marathon on St. Patrick's Day 2019. A sunny day here in New Bedford with a race time temperature of 39 degrees. A bit of a breeze blowing here in downtown New Bedford. I'm sure it will become more of an issue when they get out on the peninsula down on the south end. So here we go, underway at 11 a.m. Larry Finnerty with me here at the starting line. And Larry, what is going through their minds as they go by us?
Well, they're glad to get going. They don't like standing around, and it was pretty quick with the pre-race ceremonies. Beautiful songs done, and Raylene starting the race off.
Is it a morning of butterflies in the stomach, getting ready to run this race?
All depends on their experience. If they've been at it for a while, they're just glad to get going. And those who are new to it, there's some butterflies because they're not sure of their preparation as to whether they'll be able to hold the pace they want to. But looks like everybody's in good spirits. St. Patrick's Day.
And we've covered it before as to the chip that they use and everything as far as it really doesn't matter if they're in the front of the pack or the end of the pack at the beginning, right?
It doesn't, and it does away with a lot of sharp elbows and pushing, which is needless now because the backside of your number has a strip, and when you go over the mat, that's when your race starts. So all these people coming by now who may be running slowly or walking, there's no rush. No rush.
There goes Team Owen, their leader by us. A lot of wearing of the green today. This is often a training run for the Boston Marathon, right? Isn't that one of the reasons we hold it in March?
Absolutely. I mean, we could get a better date weather-wise with better predictability, but it's a 4-week and 1 day before the Boston Marathon. So you need a race if you're going to be competitive there. That's how we got Ingrid Christensen here from Norway when she set the world record in the 80s. Probably finishing in a time that would have put her in 3rd place overall today, because she came to the United States, her sponsor, and she needed a race, and she came here and set the world record in New Bedford on this course.
Right around a 5:05 first mile.
Sure, yeah, they're cruising through the mile. Fairly honest clip. It's 5:06 through the mile into the wind. As you said, it's a pretty large pack up front. Eric Ash is tucked away there with Michael Carlone from Tracksmith and Dennis Roach up front for the Western Mass Distance Project. We also see Teague O'Connor off to the side representing the Green Mountain Athletic Association, and Manny Gonzalez and Dave Metzger running for the Greater Boston Track Club are in the mix as well.
Yeah, so here, Mike, early on again, wind directly in the runner's face.
Yeah, it's early on. It's going to be a little bit slow based on those conditions. The headwind, you're going to have a headwind all the way up Purchase Street as you turn on to Hathaway, but then that's going to bode well for a really nice tailwind once you get towards miles 4 and 5 towards Rockdale Ave when you have a downhill. So the pace will probably pick up at that point.
Looking at the men's leader now, and it's Teague O'Connor. So Mike, not a name we had talked about prior to the start of today's race, but breaking out a little bit early here. We're really getting into that stretch where you're uphill here a bit as you head up towards Shawmut Avenue and then Hathaway Road. So been able to break out a bit, take a little bit of a lead here. Still a big pack behind Teague O'Connor of the Green Mountain Association.
Yeah, Teague O'Connor's a real talented athlete. He's a 2:24 marathoner at the Vermont Cities Marathon in 2016. He's been top 10 several times in the New England Grand Prix. He actually runs some of them barefoot, but today he's decided to go with the racing flats. He's a Burlington, Vermont native, definitely one of the top runners in Vermont. Here he is showing some early confidence by taking a few strides out on the rest of the field and kind of cutting through the wind here.
Welcome to mile 2, just past mile 2, Tommy. As we get over here, we have a couple of the ladies right up front here, and they are putting on a decent time here, just over 12 minutes past the maybe 2.5 mile mark.
Yeah, just about 2 1/4. Right after this pretty sizable hill that we had, which, trust me, I ran this last year. You definitely notice this hill. This
the first of 3 hills, by the way. Yes. And so,
right now we have Hillary of Craft Concepts, definitely out leading, bib number 1493.
Yep.
Leading number 1912.
But of course, we probably don't have on our bibs here.
We have, yeah.
But we will find that out pretty quickly here, trust me.
This is a list as of a couple of days ago, and there's some day of entries.
So we have left Norset Street. We have just turned on to Hathaway Road, which we all know becomes a bit of a long stretch here because we are approaching another hill that will be coming up. A little bit more movement.
Yeah, Tessa Fay just takes the lead over Dion, and I mean this early in the race, so there's definitely
This is just jockeying for position more than anything else right now. Just still, at this point in time, are you still looking to catch your stride to see where you feel comfortable at this juncture, or do you wait a little bit longer?
Oh yes, especially on this nice gradual downhill right before it. Pretty serious uphill. This is all most at this rate. A lot of the runners are still trying to feel their legs and get a feel for the race around them.
And by now, I think you would work up just a decent lather, so you're starting to feel warm too. All the muscles are getting warmer now as we get going.
Oh yeah, at this point, this is either you start to realize that this is going to be your race and you're feeling good and to go for it, or you're starting to realize maybe this is not your day. We're definitely around that point. I've been there. Once you get to the top of this hill, that's definitely when the race starts to pick up a little bit.
And that's where we're heading now. As you can see, as they're descending Hathaway Road, we are going right past the exits to go on to Route 140, and now we get set to go up the hill here. And the one thing about this hill, you think, oh, it's not too bad, but it does take time because it just keeps gradually going up, and it catches you, I'm sure, by the time you're about halfway up this thing.
Oh yes. The problem with this hill is that it bends as you go up, and so you never really see the top of it, which is good if you're trying to run. In the sense you don't have an end mark, but it's also bad in the sense that you don't know when it's going to end.
Right. I don't think I ever realized this until I'm just doing this now. As we're looking back, you know, you're driving on this road every day, you don't even think twice about it. But as you look at it right now, Tommy, you can see that this is going to take a little time because you are going up a pretty good angle here. It doesn't flatten out at all.
Oh, this is definitely a serious hill. The grade is not too bad, but it drags on for a solid, I would say, 600 to 800 meters. And as a runner myself, you know, it's very taxing. You're probably going to see the pace pick up a little bit. This is where some people are going to start making moves, and it should be an exciting next few miles.
The runners now approach and turn on to Rockdale Avenue here in New Bedford. As Tommy just mentioned a moment ago, lots of residential neighborhood here, lots of good folks out here cheering on the runners. What would people be looking for times here today to make sure they're ready for Boston?
Ooh, I'd say the lead runners are looking to probably go about 77, so about an hour and 17 minutes for women, maybe an hour and 78. It really depends on how that wind is, though, in those last few miles. That could really throw a wrench in your plans.
We're back taking a look at the men's leaders just after the 4-mile marker. And among those at the front of the pack, Mike, is Dennis Roach wearing 1374. Also, still seeing Eric Ash toward the front of the pack.
Yeah, Dennis Roach had just coming off of an indoor season. He ran some fabulous 3K, 5K times indoors. So he's looking to translate that to some half marathon strength, along with Eric Ash, who's been winding his way back into shape. Incredible talent out of Boston University. He's got a range, everything from a 4:03 mile to a 2:17 marathon. So definitely look for him to stay up front and push the pace. We also see Dan Vasallo tucked in there off to the side, along with Dave Metzger from the Greater Boston Track Club. And I also see Brad Mish from the BAA tucked in there, back behind there with the hat. He's coming off of an indoor season where he ripped a 14:34 5K indoors, so he's definitely looking fit.
Yeah, wind still right around 13, 14 miles an hour, Mike, but the pace has been slow, so it is taking a toll on the runners so far here this morning.
Most definitely. They just came off of arguably the toughest part of the course. Miles 2 and 3, not only did they have the steepest hill in the course, but the wind was also right in their face. So that slowed the pace way down to, they hit the 4-mile mark at about 21:10, so right around 5:15 pace, which translates to about a 68 and change half marathon. But knowing the way Rockdale Ave is, they're going to have a tailwind coming down Rockdale, and it's going to be slight downhill the whole way. So look for the pace to drop a bit at these middle miles.
So they start to come downhill just a little bit here on Rockdale. A little stumble there from one of our lead runners here, and right away catches back the stride. That's going to happen from time to time, I'm sure, during a race where you kind of lose your stride for a moment or two.
Completely. Either you sort of hit a patch of unevenness, or something happens, or for some reason you just don't look up and you're not paying attention. But usually you can recover pretty quickly, and you don't even think about it.
Well, we talked about her in our opening, and there she is right up front, Hillary Tian, saying, "Yeah, I'm here."
Oh yeah, yeah. No, she took a little bit of a hiatus from the road scene, but she's definitely showing in these first few miles here, in these first 25 minutes, that she is, she's back, and she's definitely just as strong as she was before. Yeah, and of course, a 2-time champion here at the New Bedford Half Marathon back in 2012, and again in 2015. So I guess every 4 years she likes to win it. So it'll be about her time right now. Oh yeah, no, I think last time she won, she was part of the Boston Athletic Association. Hillary has since recently moved up to New Hampshire to run, and now runs with Kraft, which is a clothing company, but also sponsors some very local elite runners such as Hillary. I'm sure Hillary, when she was part of the Boston Athletic Association, there's a very famous photo of her in 2015 with Mebka Flesky holding her hand up in the air as they both crossed the finish line together. Which was pretty cool, and that's one that I think you'll see forever and ever. That's one of those that's etched for the Boston Marathon. That's one of those classics. If Mebka Flesky ever held my hand crossing a finish line, I would never wash it again. So that's a nice little snippet about Hillary there.
Here we are along the race route right now, just passing Lake Street. We're coming up to Buttonwood Park, a beautiful place if ever there was one here in the city of New Bedford. And joining me right now, Tommy Mazza of USATF New England. Ahmed Pereira, thanks for joining us on this St. Patrick's Day. We hope you're enjoying your St. Patrick's Day, wherever you may be on this beautiful Sunday morning. And right now, one person who's been enjoying St. Patrick's Day is one Hillary Dion. She's out in front and she's looking awfully good so far.
Yes, Hillary Dion and Marcy as well are working very well together here for this sort of these middle miles. We just passed mile 5 and they're averaging about 5:47s, 5:48s, which is a very, I would say, conservative split for the opening 5.
Yeah, there's still a way to go here. Yeah, we still got. We're not even at the halfway point here. We're approaching the halfway point of this half marathon. Now, is this something here with Marcy and Hillary that they're going to kind of just run right side by side and let each one kind of pick up the pace a little bit and let the other one go out?
Yeah, they're definitely going to work together right now. One aspect of running that is, if you're running against someone but you're also running with them at the same time, is then you work off their energy and you feed off their energy, and it's almost sort of an agreement that you work together and then may the best person win once those final miles come around.
Well, here we are just at about a half hour right now into this race. You like the time you're seeing just past the 5 mile mark?
Yes, I think the time is looking very excellent for them to hit about that 77, 78 minute mark, which is what I believe most of the women here should be shooting for. Hillary and Marcy have both opened up a fairly sizable lead on the competition. I'd say they're about 50, 60 meters ahead of the next closest person. That we can see at least.
Right.
Who knows, you know.
Now you bring up a very interesting point here, 50 or 60 meters. Can someone make up 50 or 60 meters over the last half of this half marathon with these two running as well as they are?
Oh yeah, there's 8 miles left in this race. This race by no means is close to even over. I'd say what's a really big aspect here is that the women are running within the men. So any woman who is behind a little bit can sort of use the men to kind of catch back up as sort of a mental marker, saying if I catch that guy, I can then catch the women. And once you get to the women, well, they're all there.
Joe Cabral and Mike Gibberti back on the men's truck, looking at the men's leaders close and up front. We still have Dennis Roach toward the front of the pack along with Eric Ash. And that group, including Dan Vassallo that you mentioned earlier, still pretty much together. As that last mile, Mike, you had that split at just under 5 minutes.
Yeah, the last 2 miles, the pace definitely picked up courtesy of the downhill. Here they are rolling through 10K in 32:05, so it's still pretty conservative, but they're now rolling at sub 5 minute pace. The last 2 miles went 9:50, so it was a 4:51 fifth and then a 4:59 sixth. So yeah, the racing's definitely picked up a bit at this point. Leading the charge here, you got a trio of Dennis Roach and Stephen Bouquet and Ryan Smith, but also tucked in there is Tim Lillenhagen. You got Brad Mish off to the side there. As you had mentioned, Dan Vassallo in the hat and white shades. He's a good pick for favorite, as well as Eric Ash, bib number 2009.
We're heading to a little bit of a downhill stretch here, Mike, so it works in favor of the runners who've been really working against the wind and then uphill for the majority of the race so far. One of the names you mentioned, one we were not familiar with, is 1166 on his bib, Ryan Smith, who's been right at the front of the pack throughout the first half of this race.
Yeah, Ryan looks real smooth, as does the rest of the pack here. The downhill and the tailwind surely gives these runners a chance to sort of just coast, like let the downhill and the wind do all the work and just kind of let their legs go, as opposed to trying to drop the hammer on their own and try and really work together to drive. But once this section is over, they're going to have more of that to do, to fight it out, to see who's the top dog here today.
And again, a group right now we see about 9 I guess to be exact, together grouped here as we move our way downhill for a stretch. Wind now a bit of a crosswind here, Mike, still right around 14 miles an hour. Temperature has maintained steadily at about 35, 36 degrees.
Yeah, it's pretty cool day for racing. pretty common March day here in New Bedford. The wind definitely is going to take a toll. There's no question about that. But it seems the way it is today, it seems like the wind is really making the toughest part of the courses even tougher and making the easier part of the courses even easier.
Yeah,
When it comes to race strategy, these runners have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think you're on point there, Mike, with that last bit of analysis. Well, let's see what's happening on the women's side of things. Let's go over to Ed Pereira and Tommy Mazza.
Well, we see our leader, Marcy, as we don't know Marcy's last name, but she's got a good stride right now. She's leading Hillary Dion by, maybe 3 or 4 strides, I would say, at this juncture.
Yeah, and her form is looking excellent right now. She's looking relaxed. It's almost mechanical. I would say Marcy is definitely in a good shape to maybe overtake the throne from Hillary Dion.
Well, now, with something like this, do you get in a zone right now? You're like, okay, it's gotten to a point where now you've gotten the stride you want, you've gotten the time you want. Now it's just a matter of following through.
Oh, 100%. You're locking in. If you take a look at Marcy right now, you'll see that her head is solid and looking about 40, 50 feet in front of her. Her legs are moving basically mechanically, and she's definitely locked in a zone right now, looking to sort of reel in these last 7 miles.
Is that something you notice as a runner too, when you see that head just kind of looking ahead? You're just looking. You're not even thinking about, oh man, how much further do I have to go or anything like that. You're just concentrating on let's continue down the road.
100%. Yes. In baseball they always say head on a swivel.
Sure.
For running, head's supposed to be on a pole. It's supposed to be very solid and very straightforward.
Sort of like you're supposed to have it in your golf swing. You're supposed to keep your head steady the whole time. That's not supposed to move. So there you go. There's your golf analogy for today. It looks like that lead is getting longer each and every moment, every minute. It seems like she's just extending her lead.
Just passing the 8-mile marker, and same pack, but spreading out a bit here, Mike. Still seeing Dennis Roach toward the front of the pack, but it looks like maybe some runners distinguishing themselves a bit from the rest of the pack here at this time.
Yeah, the turn off of Rockdale and here onto the peninsula definitely presents a pretty nasty crosswind. We're starting to see some of the guys drop off the back of the group. Some guys starting to really grit and grind their teeth to stick with it. But still, Dennis Roach and Stephen Bouquet and Eric Ash, Ryan Smith, all four of those guys really look comfortable up front. But we also can't count out Brad Mish or Dan Vassallo as well.
Yeah, so Stephen Bouquet, not a name we were anticipating to be in this race, but definitely distinguishing himself here early on.
We continue along here in the south end of New Bedford, and Marcy Klimek is just running away from the rest of the women's field. We can barely see Hillary Dion in second place. Tommy Mazza's alongside. Ahmed Pereira, glad you could be with us here on this St. Patrick's Day as we get further and further into the south end, just going past the newly renovated Kilburn Mills area. And so Marcy still with a great stride out here and looking stronger and stronger with each and every mile.
Oh yeah, no, she's definitely looking to hone in not only this victory, but very, very fast time. I'd say on pace for about an hour and 15 or an hour and 14 minutes. And as I said, her stride is just, her form has not started to fall apart at all. And usually when you get later on in the races, you tend to see a little bit of, the arms start to drop. You start to sort of land more on the back part of your heels. But Marcy is looking, from a running perspective, very solid.
Running free and loose and easy right now is our leader. That's Marcy Klimek as we approach mile number 9. And then after this, we get towards the stretch run, if you will.
Yeah, and that's definitely where the half marathon starts to sort of become more competitive. Usually, is in those last 5 to 10 kilometers that we're about to enter into right now. Everything about her form is looking perfect right now for just passing through mile 9 and coming up on mile 10. Yeah, I would say that is definitely all going in her favor. And I'll also be the first to admit that Marcy was not on our list today. I would say she was a little bit of a dark horse. When I was preparing for this race, I was thinking that I was going to be talking a lot about runners from the Boston Athletic Association and Rachel Coogan, Lauren Philbrook, and Ali and Michaela Hackett, but Marcy has definitely proven me wrong. Let me tell you, it is very difficult to keep this pace in the mid 540s, just kind of all alone like this.
You beat me to what I was going to talk about with just a moment here. Let's go inside now. You're running yourself. What's it like now? You're kind of out there by yourself. You have a good idea of exactly how far the distance is between you and the second place runner, and you can see that you're getting closer and closer to the finish line here. What are you thinking about right now? Are you just concentrating on just keeping your form and let's make sure we finish strong? What are you looking at here?
Well, last year personally, I was like, get me out of this wind tunnel. But that's definitely, we've talked about that a lot today. If I was Marcy, I would just sort of tag along in the group in front of me and just tell myself, don't let them get any farther ahead.
Joe Cabral and Mike Gioberti aboard the men's leader truck, and we are right at the 11-mile mark, and a pack that is now thinned out, Mike, to 6 runners, including some runners who've been involved in the lead throughout. Dennis Roach, of course, 1374, right to the front of the pack. But now William Hague, and you looked up his profile, went to Duke, so a Blue Devil, has some outstanding times, a late entry, not someone we were expecting to see here, and he's moved his way toward the front of the pack.
Yeah, William certainly looks strong. I mean, he was a 8:17 3K, 14:29 5K in college, was 24 mid in the cross country 8K. He's definitely got some talent. There's no doubt about that. And he must have obviously worked really hard as a Blue Devil at Duke. And he's really sharing the lead here with Dennis Roach and Stephen Bouquet. Brad Mish there at the Holy Cross alum off to the side. Eric Ash seems to be tucked in there in the middle, and Ryan Smith there off the back. So these guys, this really seems to be your race at this point. We're going into the pretty brutal headwind uphill. This is really where the race begins.
Yeah, getting toward that final stretch here, Mike, as you alluded to, and one of the names that we've become familiar with is 1186, of course, Ryan Smith. He's been with the leaders throughout. You talked about the fact that size sometimes, as it does in other sports, can play to your advantage. And for him, it's not really something that works against him, not being that tall.
Oh, definitely. As far as distance running is concerned, you know, as they say, the less weight you have to carry over the course of those many miles, the better off you are. I mean, look at Des Linden, who won the Boston Marathon this past season. I'm not even sure if she's 5 feet tall, and she can really fly. And Ryan Smith's got that same quality to him.
So as the race continues, the runners make that right-hand turn onto County Street, which is deceiving, right? Because it goes up a little bit.
It is. It's a deceiving hill. It starts very close down on County, coming across the cove, and you can't see the top of the hill. So it just winds and winds and winds as the road turns. You don't get the vision of another minute and a half. I'll be at the crest of the hill. So it's a deceptive hill coming all the way up to the old New Bedford High School. So it's a good mile and a half.
And a lot of people participating as far as spectators, and there's usually a band, isn't there, there somewhere?
There's usually a big crowd along County Street, especially at Hawthorne Street, and at Attorney and Mrs. Saunders' house. There usually is a band there, depending on the weather. I don't know if there's one there today.
Mike, we're back on the men's truck, and we're seeing a group of 3 break ahead of the rest of the pack. And again, that takes us to Brad Mish, Eric Ash, who's been there throughout the race, and then at the front, number 268, William Hague.
William Hague seems to be taking over at this point. He's slowly pulling away. Looks like he's got a stride and a half here on the BAA guys, Mish and Ash. So yeah, he looks like Hague's trying to break the string and really wrap this up at this point. This 13th mile is probably one of the toughest on the course. You got a headwind, you got an uphill. These guys are working hard. They're going to their arms. They're giving it all they got. And right now it looks like William Hague wants to take the crown.
Yeah, smooth and easy for William Hague. We saw that throughout the race. Again, we sent it over to the women's truck for a bit, and you alluded to the fact that at a point where there was still about 6 of the runners grouped together, you thought William Hague might be the one, and you know, we've kind of seen that. He's running smooth and easy, and is really broken away from Mish, who had a lead there for a bit. I'd say about half a mile ago, but then William Hague really heading to the forefront.
And once again, another water stop that we passed by, and here we are going up County Street, and this is probably, as you mentioned, the toughest way to end a race is having to go uphill.
Oh yeah, and there's right about 12.7, there's a very serious hill that's just, it's just a smack in the face if you're a runner. That's just the best way I would describe it.
But still, I don't see anything that would indicate that Marcy is having any difficulties whatsoever in this race.
No, her form has stayed almost perfect. The strike is right on her forefoot, right underneath the center of her body. Her head is very solid. Her breathing is regulated. From a running perspective, she can be doing this all morning long.
We're heading toward the Octopus, and William Hague has distanced himself from Brad Mish.
Yeah, Brad Mish, he's at that final gear right now. He's trying to chase down William Hague, and he's got to really give it all he's got if he expects to close this gap.
There you see William Hague in the lead, Brad Mish in second, Eric Ash in third.
It's been 13.1 miles, and now, number 268, your 2019 winner, is William Hague from Boston.
Now, when you wrap up on this, is it like, let's go and grab something to wrap up in to get a little warm and maybe some fluids in our system?
Yeah, so usually at races that have a temperature sort of unknown temperature, unknown weather, they'll usually provide some sort of a heat blanket of some sort to prevent hyperthermia or to help the body reheat a little bit, or if it's really hot out, to actually deflect heat. They definitely had them at last year's New Bedford, since it was a little bit cooler and a lot windier. So if that's something these runners want, that's by all means something to take. And we are just starting the final hill here, which is definitely a lot longer and harder than I think most runners of this race remember or think to expect. And once again, Marcy Klimek is just, her stride and her form is looking perfect, as if this hill doesn't even exist.
It is amazing, honestly. I mean, she didn't look like she was breaking a sweat at all going through this whole course today.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, she's definitely, I'm a little unsure of her times in the past, but she's definitely Olympic trials talent should she want to try a marathon. If she can do this half marathon in 75, 74, which is about what she's on pace for right now, without a doubt she's hitting the 2:45 marathon standard that could possibly send her to Atlanta in 2020.
Well, there's something to think about.
Yeah.
In 2020, wow, that's just around the corner, really.
Oh yeah, no, it's about a year and a half away. It's the Olympic marathon trials, if that's what she's looking for. She's very well could also just be a track athlete and be doing this to see how she sizes up for distance. But a runner like me the first thing I would tell her is, without a doubt, you're Olympic trials talent.
So that's what you're going to tell her when you go to the post-race interview, right?
Oh, well, the first thing I'm going to do is apologize for not knowing her name. And then, yes, once she's recovered a little bit, I will start talking. And I'm sure she knows at this point. If she doesn't, well, hopefully that'll make her St. Patrick's Day a little bit better.
That's for sure. It's St. Patrick's Day. I think she deserves a nice pint of something there at the end of this run here, as she has been out in front, as we mentioned, for most of this St. Patrick's Day morning. Marcy Klimek as she comes up the hill here on County Street, and we get closer and closer to the end of this half marathon here in New Bedford. Tommy, you look at someone like this, you see them come out, if you will, almost nowhere in a sense. You got to wonder, wow, how long has she been training, and what's the future lie for her?
Yeah, you know, definitely, she's definitely after college. So she could have had about 4 years of serious NCAA training underneath her belt, which I'm sure she has. But yeah, this probably, from my guess, would be her first longer distance race out of college, and just see what she has. And by all means, she must have been training well throughout the summer for this exact race, because this is a phenomenal performance by Marcy. I mean, definitely her debut in the New England Grand Prix series, and if I was her, I'd seriously think about giving the other races a try, because she easily could probably win those as well.
Think we'll hear more from her before all is said and done in this calendar year, don't you?
Oh, without a doubt. She is totally going to be back for more, and good for her for doing so.
All right, so Marcy Klimek, she is our leader as we come to the home stretch here of the 42nd annual New Bedford Half Marathon. Well, the finish line beckons now. It's ever so close for our leader, Marcy Klimek. She jumped out in front at about mile 4 or so and just never looked back. And what a good, clean race we've seen here today from her, Tommy.
Yeah, absolutely impeccable. She has ran this race. You know, she's dotted her I's and crossed her T's, and definitely a very well-earned victory for Marcy Klimek.
We make the final turn off of County Street onto Kempton. And then it's just a matter of time before you see the start-finish line here. And Marcy Klimek has taken this race and made it her own very quickly.
Oh, without a doubt. She has put on a huge lead over the rest of the women's field, and is actually starting to catch up to the sub-elite and elite men's field right here at the end. And if our clock didn't go out, I would say she's probably on target for well under 75 minutes.
And most of the time we've seen her, she seems to have a smile on her face here the last few miles.
Oh, she's out here having fun today. You know,
hey, who can blame her? Who can blame her? She's entertained us. It's been amazing how well she has run this race here, the New Bedford Half Marathon, on this St. Patrick's Day in 2019.
DJ Unger from the Jericho Racing Campaign has good. Also, a Jericho teammate runs in for the finish. Louis Saviano, Millennium Running, Kenneth Whitney, Manchester Running Club, Matt Pennick, Cambridge Running Club. From the Boston Athletic Association, Alex McGrainer, Dane Rodiak, Wicked Running Club.
And now here she is coming down to the finish line. Your female winner of the 2019 race is Marcy Klimek. As she breaks the tape, she is from Arlington, Massachusetts.
Tommy Mazzo alongside Ahmed Pereira. Well, it has been a day for Marcy Klimek here at the 2019 New Bedford Half Marathon.
Oh, without a doubt. I think she ended up crossing the line about 1:14:55 unofficially, which is an excellent time. That's definitely on pace for the Olympic trials, should she want to go in 2020.
Well, she looked like she could go into the Olympic trials without any problems today. A little surprised at the distance between her and the second place finisher.
Yeah, definitely not what we expected. New Bedford's typically a very competitive half marathon, and she, I'd say, had about 110 meters over Hillary Dion of Craft Concept, and then about 150 over our third and fourth place finishers.
All right, well, Tommy, it's been a pleasure to work with you. It's been a pleasure to have you along with us. The 2019 New Bedford Half Marathon, the female winner once again, Marcy Klimek. We'll do it again next year, unless you're running.
Of course.
And if you're running, I'm not going to be with you.
All right, well, thank you very much, Ed.
All right, thank you.
So today we congratulate William Hague and Marcy Klimek, who were the winners of the 2019 New Bedford Half Marathon. What did you think? We were surprised by a group finishing at the end.
I've never seen that. I know that Andy, the public address announcer, said, "Here comes the first runner." Oh, there's two. And I looked up and you and I saw there were three. Then there were about 6 people within 10 seconds of each other on the men's side. And the women just came in, and there were 4 of them in the first 20 seconds. So I don't know if there was a lot of wind drafting out there, because coming in a pack like that is very unusual. Very.
So another successful race. Can you imagine this? Can you believe it's been 42 years?
Some days I can remember it's 42 years, yes. It's a little harder to get out of bed, but yeah, it's a great day in New Bedford. Every year, 42 years in a row. It's one of the standard New England long-distance races, and it's been that way because the community gets behind it.
And it's just grown and grown, now a Grand Prix race, right?
It is. It's a Grand Prix race for teams. That's why we get so many people coming in from the Western Mass and Massachusetts and then New Hampshire and Vermont, bringing their teams down in big buses that are parked downtown today.
Well, as you said before, that some people do this for training, some people do it just because it's on their bucket list, which you can't imagine a 20-year-old needing a bucket list, right?
No, you don't need a bucket list at 20 years of age, but it's something you want to accomplish, and there's a lot of participation, too, that's not competitive. And they don't feign being competitive. They're just here to have fun and to finish the race and then visit some of our pubs on St. Patrick's Day.
Our thanks to our fellow crew members who are out on the racetrack and the trucks, keeping us posted as to who was in the lead, and also thanks to the many men and women behind the cameras here today and putting this all together. For the Bedford Cable Network, I'm Pete Braley. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Well, Mike, an interesting race today, very competitive. Times maybe a little bit slower than some of the faster races. 66:59 unofficially we have. For the winner here today, William Hague, wearing 268, came in as a last-minute entry, obviously, and just had a fantastic race, stayed with the leaders throughout, and then about 1.5 miles remaining, really went to the front of the pack.
Yeah, it was an exciting one, that's for sure. Obviously, a lot of the heavy hitters from the past were no-shows, but we still had a lot of solid talent up front. They were really able to work together and push each other. And in the end, Tracksmith Hare Athletic Club's William Hague ended up pulling away and claiming the trophy, with Brad Mish nearly gunning him down for second place, with Eric Ash in third.
Very, very, very close finish. Hague had some distance between he and Mish, but then heading toward the finish line, very, very competitive. But again, William Hague able to hang on and win today's race. Brad Mish in second, and then in third place today, a very competitive race from Eric Ash.
Yes, all three of them worked hard. Really, all those guys up front worked hard. It was hard to predict a winner anytime until up to the last half mile, and it really gave us a fun show to watch and a fun show for everyone else watching this coverage to keep their eye on. So, all in all, I'd say it was a fantastic day for a race.
we're very proud to put on this race every year. The city is, and I just, before we announce the winners, I really want to thank, first of all the city employees who work really hard in the weeks leading up to the race to get the course ready. It's a great course. It's got a lot of variety. It's clean. I hope that we maintained ankle integrity today. We filled a lot of potholes of late. They scrambled to do that, and I think that went well. We were towing cars as recently as this morning, so we hope we got those obstructions out of the way. But it's exciting for city employees to be part of it as well. And I, of course, want to thank the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick, Chris, as well as Dan McCarthy, and everybody who makes this a labor of love every year. It's a great way to bring the community together, to bring people to New Bedford who haven't been here before, to reunite us with folks who've run the race before, and to see all the great things New Bedford has to offer. And I hope that this being St. Patty's Day, everybody embraces those opportunities, perhaps even a little bit more than ordinarily. We had a great race today. We had a near photo finish on the men's side, and a really hugely competitive race on the women's side. And I just want to thank all the runners out there. It's what's unique about marathons, big and half marathons, and large road races is that you have in the same field very, very competitive, very well conditioned, high performing athletes running at least side by side, at least for a few seconds. Everybody else, the likes of people like me who've run it before, and others, and it's all and it's a very in that way sort of a very, very community oriented event, and it's pretty cool. So without any further ado, I know our runners are the folks that we're going to be naming right now are folks who run a few miles just to warm up. They run a competitive race, and then they cool down for several miles. And so, they're not accustomed to standing still for very long. So I'll get right down to it. So we begin with the women's side, and we have our third place finisher who I think had to leave, right, Chris? Yeah. Yeah, so no, but I think Megan wasn't able to make it back here. But coming in, we'll start from third and go to first. So on the women's side, coming in third place with a time of 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 53 seconds was Megan Hogan of Jamaica Plain, Massachusetts. I know she had to leave, unfortunately, but we want to congratulate her for a really terrific performance. Coming in second is no stranger to our race. She's won it a couple of times. She's a fantastic athlete, and it was great to see her here again. And she really is just such a top-notch performer. Coming in second this year was Hillary Dion of Charlestown, Massachusetts, coming in at 1 hour, 15 minutes, and 44 seconds. Hillary, great to see you again. Are we taking individual photos? Yeah. This is for you.
Ready, guys? One and two. Thank you.
If you beat Hillary, you are one darn good runner, and that one really great runner today was Marcy Klimek of Arlington, Massachusetts, who won the women's division of the 42nd New Bedford Half Marathon, coming in at a time of 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 45 seconds. Congratulations. We'll take our photos. On the men's side, coming in third place, a gentleman who's run before in our marathon or half marathon. It is almost placed. A few years back, he came in fifth in 2014, but this year he placed in the top three, and that's Eric Ash of Boston, who came in we're not far behind the lead at 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 7 seconds, 6 seconds off of the victory. A near photo finish. So I just tweeted out my bird's eye view of the race from my office, the near photo finish. So if you want to see it, you got to start following me on Twitter. So do that. But it was amazing to watch from every angle. And so coming in just 5 seconds in front of Eric and 1 second off of the finish was another gentleman who's came close to placing here a couple of years ago. And this year he came in just a darn close second. That's Brad Mish of Dorchester, Massachusetts, 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 2 seconds. And as I said, I just, on behalf of my city, I just want to say, thanks for making it such a not only an entertaining race, but just so competitive, so inspiring. And so coming in 1 second in front of Brad, again, follow me on Twitter. You'll see it for yourself if you missed it. Was William Hague of Boston, 1 hour, 7 minutes, 1 second, the winner of the 42nd annual New Bedford Half Marathon. Congratulations. Yeah, we'll do that. Let me just wrap up by saying, we really appreciate everybody's support here. I mean, obviously, I see a lot of family members, I presume, and thanks for being so supportive. And we hope you take this opportunity to check out the city and enjoy yourselves. But more importantly, it's a very gratifying moment to see your loved ones perform at such a high level and to just and pursue excellence the way they did. So congratulations to all of you. We're very proud that we could be some small part of it today. So thanks everybody. We'll take some photos.